Hello, powerful one. Welcome to this edition of Inner Growth to Sezwa Hananaye. Have you ever wondered if it's been said several times that you are not the mind, you are not the body, and then you are not your environment? Then who are you? When you are speaking, who is speaking? When you feel hunger, who is hungry? When you feel anger, who is angry? When you have a desire to do things, who is having that desire? Is it you or who? So what is that thing about when it is said that we are not the body, we are not the mind, that we are soul? So which of these entities, mind, the body, and the soul, does the things that are ascribed to us? How do I separate from the body, the mind, and the soul when actions are happening within my system? Well, that is a good question. And I believe virtually every one of us has been asking that question from time immemorial. Who is speaking to you right now as I'm speaking? This is where I will ask you a question. When you have a car stereo on, who is speaking through the car stereo? Is it the car, or it is the car stereo, or what? All right. It depends on whether you are tuned to a frequency. If you are tuned to a radio channel frequency, then the guy in the studio who has the authority at that time to man the station is the one that is speaking through the stereo to you. You say, hey, stop, I'm listening to the radio. It is not the radio that is speaking. The radio is a device. Now, the human body is a device because there are the tracts that are loaded in this body to be able to enable the spirit entity in the body to make communications. But it is not always all the time that the spirit uses these channels. Now, what are we talking about? We are simply saying that the human being is a single person with a multiple consciousness. It is the consciousness that expresses its experiences of its environment. Then we say that person is speaking. But now what part of that person is speaking, we don't care, because there is a referent for that communication, which is the body. So I am speaking, I touch my body, but this is really not me. So who is speaking? When we come back from the break, we will go into this in fullest details. I am Osezwa Anthony Hananaye. You know me. I am in the game of helping you grow from inside out. That is the drill. You're welcome back. Now, this is it. The human being, like we said, is a single entity, a person with multiple consciousness. Now, there are two broad consciousness in the human being. There is the spiritual or the vital consciousness, and then there is the quasi-spiritual or formal consciousness. You can also call it the material consciousness. Of course, this vital or the spiritual consciousness is the ideal, the real human being. That is, another word for that is the soul. When the higher entity, the spirit or the soul, identifies with its environment in the lower world, a form is created, and spirit begins to function through that form, using its stimuli to express itself. Now, this is it. The spirit is supposed to function through the form. But when the spirit loses its control over the formal appurtenances, over the formal devices, over the formal forces and powers, then the spirit is usurped. Now the forms begin to use the vital force, energy supplied by the spirit to function as if it were the spirit. This is what happens when hunger hits your body. Instead of you to say, I feel hunger in my body, you say, I am hungry. It is not you that are hungry, it is your body. Language has a way of imprisoning us to lower consciousness. And then when your mind suffers a form of frustration of its intentions, then you sense anger in your system. And instead of you to say, I feel anger in my system, I can sense anger, you say, I am angry, but it's not you. When your body has had an experience of its senses, okay, then it dips into memory and says, oh, that experience I had some time ago, I want it back. And you say, I have a desire for a bottle of soda. It is not you having that desire. It is your body. It is your body having that desire. It is longing to repeat an experience that is stored in its memory. I have explained before that the human mind is the king of this lower world. The human mind controls the human body. And there are so many dimensions to the mind that there are 4 major ones. Now, in Dianetics, we are taught that there is the analytic mind, and then there is the somatic mind. The analytic mind is far the highest level of mind. You can call it the conscious mind. You can call it the intellect, working closely with this human soul, right? But what controls the devices, the forces of this body, is what they call in Dianetics the somatic mind. That is the mind that feels the feelings of the body. That particular mind controls the physical body. The experiences that the physical body is getting of its environment is now seen as the experiences of the person, which are two completely different entire entities. It is not us that are hungry. It is not us that are thirsty. It is not us that are frustrated. It's not us that long for praises. It is not us that long for accolades. But there is one thing that we know, which the lower systems of the mind and the higher systems of the mind take advantage of to imprison us, which is we have a perpetual drive. The soul has a perpetual hunger for something that it does not know. It knows that it needs something. And in the process, the mind, who is the king of this lower world, because soul is from the higher regions, it's not a citizen of this world. We already know that. Now, when the soul comes down here as a journey entity, as an entity that is in discovery process, that is to learn a lot of things in this lower world, the soul gets here and is being guided by the mind, who furnishes the soul with all that it requires to be able to operate here, because the body that the human being wears is a production of the mind. Mind creates the body that we wear. It is an extension of the mind. Therefore, the body is very obedient to the mind. At the time of birth, for example, a child begins to see attention turned on it. And at the moment the child has the reflection of himself or herself, the child begins to realize that, oh, this is me. All right. But that reflection is not it. The reflection is the body. The child notices that the adults around are pointing their fingers at the form that the child carries. So the child over time is taught by adult experiences, by adult environment, to understand that this body is it. Now, when the child is hungry, like I just said, now when the child is hungry, when the body of the child is drained of energy, now that means that the child is hungry or thirsty. The child is fed. The moment the child eats, energy is returned to the body. The battery is now charged, and then the child comes to conclusion that it is food that makes life everything. Therefore, the connection with food is created. That is stored in the memory of the child as an experience to be looked forward to. That experience is stored along with all the causes and the effects. The hunger, what causes hunger, period of not eating, and then when you eat, the experience you have when you eat, the sensation of eating, all of those things are stored together as one file, stored in memory. Over a period of repetition, the child is able to master these connections. And then next time, when there are even no adults around, the child feels that sensation of hunger. The child knows what to do. So this is how we learn how to interact with our physical environment. But what we should know is that now there's what we call life impulses. These are the drives that all the elements of our systems must have, sustain, and satisfy in order for life to continue for the person. The body has gross and subtle life impulses. The gross life impulses are what you see as nourishment, desire for food, shelter, comfort, and all of that. And then all of these things form the survival mode of the human being. Then in order to be able to ensure that these things that create survival are repeated, okay, are sustained and ensure that they don't fail, we have the subtle desires, which leads us to talk about being creative, being in a state of control. For example, for us to be able to sustain our lives so that we don't die, that's why we eat. But to ensure that we continue our existence, we have another desire called sex. Sexual desire makes it possible for us to replicate ourselves. In order to be able to have all of these things that we are getting, food, comfort, and shelter, we have the need for security. That takes us to a new level. These are the two basic life impulses of the human body. When you push the limit of the subtle impulses of the body, like security, to the level of control, to the level of creativity, you have moved from the bodily level to the mind level. At that level, you begin to create a sense of duality. You now begin to restrict certain activities of others in order to create your own space. You begin to extend your possibilities, begin to extend your riches, and you begin to expand your possibilities. Then you move higher. When, for example, creativity leads to the point of dominating another species or another human being, you understand that you are pushing the limit of your existence to deny others their right to exist. When you push the limit of the subtle life impulses of the body, you get to the level of the mind, which is the level of creativity, which is the level of control. And that control can lead to dominance. All right? It can lead to other things. When the mind and the body's desire become the sole drive of the human existence, then we say that that person has fallen from grace. Because right now, there is nothing in this entire system for the soul, for the spirit, because all of them are about material existence. Because whatever the mind does must come down to the flesh, to the physical level. Call it the aircraft that is being manufactured, call it the cars that are being manufactured, call it the whatever it is that are being manufactured. All of them are done to bring about comfort, to bring about security, to bring about ease, and of course food for the human being. Now, when you keep pushing the subtle limits of the corporal impulses, the bodily impulses, when you desire to have children, for example, to ensure that the human race does not perish out of the earth, which is sexual, becomes something you do for fun. Not because you want to have children, but you just want to have fun. You begin to extend it outside your marital bound. You need to have all kinds of connections for sex. You have clubs that are for sex. You have all kinds of things that enhance your sexual experience or sexual performances. Then you know that something is going on. What is really going on here? What is going on here is that there's something happening somewhere, because the source of energy for the mind is the soul. The source of energy for the body is the soul. The source of energy for the environment is also the souls. Now, when the mind knows that the guest to its planet, which is the soul, is not very happy, because in all these desires we are talking about, none of them pleases the soul. There is only one hunger the soul has, and that hunger is the God hunger. The only thing that can feed the soul is knowledge of itself, because the soul keeps asking, like you have always been asking, who am I? What am I doing here? But that knowledge is not known to the soul. Even the mind has no answer to it, but the answer is in identity, stored up somewhere beyond the reaches of mind and every other thing. Okay? Somehow, the mind is not willing to encourage the soul to chase that knowledge, because he knows that if the soul keeps chasing that knowledge, it will lose control of the soul. But here, the mind tries to bribe the soul by giving it pleasure. But these pleasures only function to injure the soul. So when it comes for the first time, the soul might be excited and blown away. But after few repetitions, the soul realizes that it does not satisfy it. It has not got that thing it wants. If it is not satisfied, the soul will not find peace. So in order to keep the soul with it, to keep the soul feeling good, mind keeps exploring, keeps creating new dimensions. Like now, the world is going to go to war, because at the level where the world leaders are sitting, there is surfeit. They have everything they want. Anything they want materially, they can get it. But there is something they cannot get, which is not visible in the material level, which is peace, which is inner comfort, fulfillment. They can't have it. They can have success, but they can't have fulfillment, because the mind cannot manufacture fulfillment. Because fulfillment simply means that you have been able to supply the soul what it truly needs, and the soul finds relief. from it. The only thing that can give that kind of relief to the soul is things that are done from love. Love is the only thing that can do that. But it's not enough. Love is just a journey leading the soul somewhere. Where does love lead the soul to? Self-discovery. Okay, not self-improvement. Mind will control you to the level of self-improvement, thinking that something is broke, you need to fix. There's something broke in you to be fixed. Whatever is broke is in your body and in your mind. All right? If you focus on healing your mind and your body, you will find out that you will require the energy of the soul. And for that energy to come, you have to give the soul what the soul wants. What will make the soul flow into you. Once the soul is boisterous, it's full of energy, it's full of joy. Because that energy that the soul is full of is new, fresh supplies from the source. And the only way the soul can get new, fresh supply from the source is to be connected through the word. And the only route to this connection is what we always talk about, my friend, meditation. So all of the things you see at the level of the mind and the body, they are memorized experiences repeated over and over again. Sometimes it's a bit of embellishment. But when it comes to the level of the soul, everything is new and novel. Soul cannot be satisfied with that which is mundane. It has to be fresh. It has to be beyond the bounds of memory. It has to be something that is not possible for the mind to get. And the only way the soul can get fulfillment is for mind to stay out of its way and let the soul lead. The sin of the human person is when the mind leads. All right? That is lesser sin. But the greater sin is when the body leads, because it makes the human being an animal. The only thing you desire are food, drinks, sex, shelter. That's how your life ends. And anything that sustains these things, you go for them. Association, relationship, all because ask somebody, for example, why do you want to get married? Because I want to have children. Is that the reason? How does that help you as soul, as a person? Having children, what does it do for you? You now marry, you don't have children. What then happens? You become troubled. You run from one doctor to the other, from one spiritualist to the other, from one prophet to the other, looking for solutions. How do these things really help you? You have children, children become your problem. Or how to train it becomes the problem. All of these things don't help you. They don't take you anywhere. Instead, they give you more heartaches. But the truth is this, to conclude this discussion, is that when you say who is talking when I am talking, it depends on what is the subject of interest. If the subject of interest is things that satisfy the physical body, then it's your body that is in charge. If it is the things that satisfy the higher, subtle impulses of body, the impulses of life, then the mind is in charge. Creativity, expansion, suppression of other people, that is the mind in charge. But if you are talking about love, how to give to others, how to extend truths, how to become a more beneficial entity on the planet, how to do things selflessly, then you are giving room to the soul. That is the one that is talking. Soul is all spirit, is pure, it is sinless. When the soul takes charge of your form, of your entirety, you find out that you have no problems. Difficult things of this life become so easy to solve. That is the reality. So stay focused, get a grip over yourself, and know that you are higher than these physicalities. You are higher than the mind. You are soul and you are spirit and you are potent and beyond description. Thank you. Hananaye,